The February 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine woke Europe and NATO to the fact that the Cold War peace dividend had ended. NATO concluded this after the 2014 Russian seizure of Crimea and the support of separatist movements in the Ukrainian Donbass. After the Russian annexation of Crimea, NATO adopted a 2% GDP goal for defense spending for member countries. In 2018, President Donald Trump reminded NATO leaders of this fact. This caused much hand-wringing and dramatic claims of offense by the countries being called out on what they agreed to do in 2014. The majority of NATO ignored the U.S. president and their agreed-upon spending targets, continued anemic defense spending, and neglected militaries. Germany, Europe's largest economy, exhibited the most neglect, although the Russian invasion was believed to have altered their commitment, a notion that is becoming increasingly uncertain. In 2021, the German defense budget was 1.5% of GDP, well below the agreed-upon NATO spending target that was agreed upon 7 years prior. Germany had signed agreements to receive Russian natural gas through the Nord Stream pipeline and was in the process of commissioning the Nord Stream 2 pipeline in 2022. Germany's commitment to a green economy hinged on its purchase of Russian natural gas, which the Russian government undoubtedly extracted in an environmentally responsible manner. Read sarcasm. Germany did not perceive Russia as a threat, but rather as a silent ally in their green energy endeavors. They likely believed that their position as a significant purchaser of Russian energy could deter Russian aggression, thereby tempering the Russian government's actions. Despite what they agreed to with their NATO partners, the use of soft German power through economic incentives could potentially replace the need for increased defense spending. Since the end of World War II, there has been a strong peace and anti-nationalist movement in Germany, especially in the Old West Germany, and a shunning of nationalism over some belief in international organizations like the European Union that it was willing to give up some of its state sovereignty to a greater Europe. However, Germany, being the largest economy in Europe, wielded immense influence over the EU, making it uncertain how much sovereignty Germany actually gave up as it moved its sovereign power from Berlin to Brussels, where it, along with the French, shaped Europe into a vision similar to its own. All of this came crashing down when the Russians decided to invade Ukraine. The Europeans, along with the majority of the Western-aligned world, denounced the attack, imposed a boycott on Russian energy, and, except for a few European nations, shut down the Nord Stream pipeline, and Nord Stream 2 was destroyed under dubious circumstances. Germany had to abandon its Russian engagement policy and acknowledge the need for increased defense spending. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced that Germany would commit to the 2% GDP target and create a special fund of 100 billion euros to jumpstart German defense spending. This was a welcomed injection of funds by the Bundeswehr, as it now scoured Germany and the world to procure the weapons that it viewed as a priority. Deutschland reports that it is now over the 2% GDP target for 2024. We expect the fund to run out by 2028, with the majority of its use by 2026. However, this is a budgetary gimmick, as Germany is using the 100 billion euro fund to boost its defense spending in order to meet the 2% GDP target. This means that Germany is not on track to reach its 2% goal after 2028. The 100 billion euro fund is not procured as part of the normal budgetary process, but rather as a loan with interest that must be paid out of the 100 billion. Additionally, German VAT, or value-added tax, applies to items purchased from German industry, reducing the 100 billion included in the defense GDP targets to closer to 70 billion. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has acknowledged these facts and stated that he believes Germany will need to spend at least 2.3% of its GDP on defense for an extended period to address the readiness issues of the Bundeswehr. The midterm budget drafts reveal a gap of 30 billion euros by 2027, barely reaching the 2.0% target, not to mention the aspirational 2-3% goal. Germany will either need to create a new special fund, which seems to be off the board, find a way to close the general funding gap, or enter programs that it can use to demonstrate it is meeting its commitments to NATO. The German government is not abandoning the 2% target, but it is getting around it creatively. During the G7 meeting in June, the leaders agreed to use the interest and dividend proceeds from nearly $300 billion in seized Russian assets as collateral for a $50 billion loan to Ukraine. This loan is why Germany will cut Ukraine aid in 2025 by half from 2024 aid. In the 2025 budget, Germany will use this approximately $4 billion reduction in direct aid to Ukraine to close the defense and general budget gaps. Germany's other action is to create a European missile and air defense system called the European Sky Shield Initiative, or ESI, and 21 European countries have signed up for the program. The initiative employs a layered air defense system that is based on current active air defense systems from the United States, Israel, and Germany. This will allow the German initiative to diversify the program's costs through 21 partners and use existing weapon systems, reducing development costs. Germany will also produce a portion of the system and boost German foreign defense sales. The system is currently undergoing development, primarily addressing architectural and political issues, with the hardware issues largely resolved. It is unclear how much the system will cost at this time, but it will be a defense boost for Germany without requiring direct investment if it were a German-only program. Another sector in which Germany is working to improve its defenses without making large investments is the agreement with the United States to allow the rotational deployment of long-range missiles and ground-launched cruise missiles, as well as a future hypersonic missile. This will again allow Germany to fill a known defense gap that, like air defense systems, has become a priority, as witnessed by how both air defense and long-range missiles have played an important role in combat. Germany can achieve this without directly investing in a new weapon system. Instead, it only needs to provide the necessary infrastructure to support rotational deployments, likely sourced from non-defense budgets, but recognized as part of defense spending. This approach is legitimate and not a budget gimmick, yet it enables Germany to swiftly bridge a defense gap without a significant defense budget increase. During the NATO summit, 4 European countries, France, Germany, Italy, and Poland, signed an agreement at the French Embassy in Washington to jointly build a new long-range missile called the European Long-Range Strike Approach, or ELSA. The goal is to build a missile with a range of 500 kilometers, 311 miles, and a maximum range of up to 2,000 kilometers, 1,244 miles. This move served not only as a concession to the French, who had been protesting the deployment of American missiles to Germany over French missiles and the ESSI program, but also as a means to offset the costs of the missile program. The program, which is exclusive to Europe, has the potential to attract participation from other European countries, and the French have confirmed that it will rely on European funding. We assume that the European Union will support the program under the guise of industrial development. Germany has not yet set its short and mid-term budgets, as there are still funding gaps that require either cuts or additional funding. The final budget may see an increase in defense spending, but this is not a certainty. The German commitment to ESSI, ELSA, and U.S. missile deployments appears to be a way for Germany to avoid direct increases to its military budget and seek to defer spending or diversify it. This tactic would allow Germany to demonstrate, through direct and indirect measures, that it is meeting the 2% GDP NATO requirement while at the same time avoiding the costly increases that might be politically unpopular for large parts of the German population and Chancellor Scholz's SPD governing coalition.